if you're a true fan of the show, if you're a true fan of ham radio, this might not be the video for you. Might want to go watch something else. If, on the other hand, you're not really a ham radio operator, if you're more of a prepper, more in the art and science of staying alive during SHFT events, this just might be the video for you. Stick around and you might learn something. This time on K6UDA Radio. Let's do this. So why is a ham radio show talking about prepper communications? For many, many years now, probably dating back as far as 2004, 2005, I've kind of been of the same persuasion. And I've set myself up with, a few things. I have a little bit of food. I have a little bit of stuff to protect that food with. Most importantly, I have some knowledge. And it's no secret how I became a so-called expert in communications. That was through ham radio, and because I was into the whole prepping thing, I wanted to learn more about radio. I needed to learn more about radio, and the easiest way to do that was to get a ham radio license. Almost 1 million people in the United States alone have ham radio licenses. It is pretty innocuous. And what I say is it's not a license to operate, it's a license to learn. And that's unless you've been trained in the military or you've been trained in a profession, you don't know what you don't know. Before we dive all the way into this subject, and this well runs deep, I want to ask you a big favor. Please, it's free. If you're watching and enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. And I'm also doing stuff on Patreon. You could go to Patreon and Rumble. I also have a channel on Rumble, and I will do more 2A kinds of stuff and stuff that I really can't do here on YouTube. We'll get into some really cool stuff over there. So do that and sit back and enjoy the rest of the video. Everybody thinks, oh, it's a ham radio. This can talk around the world. You could talk to anybody with a ham radio, and that just ain't so. This is the video that I'm going to tell you the 10,000 foot overview of why radio communications are important, how to put together a comms plan, what your comms plan should entail, and what ham radio or ham radios is going to be best for what you want to do. Communications is the key to getting business done. It's the key to survival. We use communications and we have a communications plan, whether you know it or not right now. Your first communications plan is that family communications plan. I don't care if one person is at home with the kids while the other person is out working, or everybody in the household is out at different jobs. You have a communications plan. You know how to get in touch with each other. If something happens, if the house burns down, if Johnny gets sick at school and needs to get picked up, everybody has a communications plan on how to make that kind of an emergency work for you. What happens when shit hits the fan? That communications plan number one is keeping in touch with your family, with your close friends. Number two, you want to get information on the outside world. We call that intel. You want to know outside world, what is going on outside of your household, outside of your immediate neighborhood, what's going on across town, what's going on in the next town, what's going on 2 states over, and maybe what's going on in another part of the world. And really, if you're watching this, you're probably on board with me in saying, I really don't trust what the media has to say. They lie all the time. And in times of trouble, when stuff gets really, really bad, you can bet there will be people out there that will go to the radio. They will be talking with their brother who might live a couple 100 miles away. They might be talking with some guy that they know from the radio who lives 2 states away, or a country away, or half a world away. And they will give and get information. And if you're listening, if you're paying attention, you can benefit from the intel that they are giving. Another reason you may need your communications plan, your prepper comms plan, is tactical communications. Small teams. You've got a small team of people, 4, 8, 12 people, and you need to have communications between them. And I know what you guys are thinking right now. Yeah, well, everybody gets one of these and we'll be okay. Might not be just that simple. Another reason, trading partners. You might have trading partners after a prolonged something going on. Open air markets will spring up. People will need goods and services. They'll need to trade bananas for toilet paper or whatever. There might also be community events. And if stuff gets bad enough, there won't be TV, so you won't really be able to learn about things like community events. Once we know why we need the communications, now you've got to develop your own family's comm plan. And the first thing you need to ask yourself is, where am I located in the world? Am I in the U.S.? Do I live in a free state, or do I live in one of the coastal commie states? I call it the U.S. communist bloc. California, New York, Chicago, all run by complete lefties who will use anything and everything to declare emergencies, to disarm their population, and to possibly starve you out. Do you live in an urban environment? Are you within the city? Do you live in the suburbs? Are you rural? Do you have a farm? And where is your family located? Do they live with you? Do they live down the road? Do they live in another state? These are things that might affect what type of comms plan you and your family need. Also, when you're developing that comms plan, are you on your own? Are you part of a group or a family-based team? How proficient in the art and science of radio communications are you and your family or your other team members? Is there a practical way to train you and your family on how to use radios effectively? Then we get to the equipment, the right tool for the right job. These are good for very short-range communications, between 0 and, say, 2 miles. Now, you may be all jazzed up to grab that Bofang and pass these things out to everybody in your family and use them around the house right now while times are good in that attempt to get trained up on this. But you got to remember, and I know a lot of you guys are of the mindset of, I'm not going to get a license. I'm not getting a ham radio license because I don't want to be on a government list. And I get that. I don't know if you really want to be talking on one of these without a license. And let me tell you why. In the licensed ham radio world, there is a thing called fox hunting or direction finding. And it's a fairly popular activity where clubs or individuals will plant a transmitter in a secret location, and guys will start out maybe across the city and with direction finding equipment, which can be as simple as a handheld with a different antenna narrows down where a signal comes from. And if you talk on that Bofang long enough, you're gonna catch the ire right now of some do-gooder ham, some FUD. And if you do it long enough, and if you do it long enough, they're just liable to pull out their direction finding equipment and go hunt you down. They're not going to confront you. They're going to report you to the FCC. Once SHFT happens, you're really probably not going to have to worry about that so much. But before it happens, right now, when we're training for things, when we're trying to learn about the radio, that might not be a good thing. So a good alternative to breaking out the ham radio, if you don't have a license, or if you've got you got kids in the house, is to get yourself a pack of GMRS or family radios like this. They are super, super easy to use. I would say just about anybody can figure out how to use these things. They do have some privacy codes. You could do a lot of training with something like this, and you don't piss off the old FUD hams. Also, by using GMRS and FRS, it's also another good tool to monitor once an SHFT event happens. Having these things around to monitor is another good way of getting intel. Another type of radio that you might want to think about is mobile radio or base station type radio. These come in a few different flavors. There are the mobile mounted, which can be used at home as a base station. And there are the bigger, more base station radio sets. The mobile radios. These are UHF, VHF radios, normally transmitting on FM frequencies. They're good for up to 25 to 50 miles, depending upon your location, depending upon a lot of things, depending upon repeaters, the terrain, buildings, all that good stuff. These radios typically will transmit at 5, 25, and 50 watts. I talked about repeaters and non-repeater communications. A repeater can literally take your signal from a handheld and put you out 25, 50, hundreds of miles away by the use of a more powerful radio system called a repeater. And I'm not going to go into what repeaters or how they work. In good times, right now, repeaters are all over the place. Once SHFT happens, I think it's going to be a matter of hours or a couple of days before most, if not all of the repeaters in your area will go down, or they'll get locked out. Now, for those of you that have radios like a GMRS or the Bofang radios, these operate on FM. Most of the common radios like this, or even this, operate UHF and VHF frequencies. That is 2 meters and 440. The next thing we got to get to is the bands. And because I'm going to assume that most of you guys have one or more of these little guys sitting around, you're operating mainly on UHF and VHF frequencies. Now, a lot of the mobiles, like this one here, also operate on the UHF, VHF frequencies. These frequencies are generally used for fairly local communications, a few miles, maybe across town. And that's about it. That's kind of where those are all good for. Any further out, you need to move into HF communications, high frequency they call it. This is an HF radio, capable without any internet, without any connection other than the antenna, capable of reaching out when the conditions are right anywhere on the planet and beyond, and even out into space. There's things called moon bounce, where guys are literally taking a signal, bouncing it off the moon, coming back and talking to somebody else. If you want to be dead serious about your prepper comms and your comm plan, you need to think about CW mode, Morse code, when the conditions are absolutely atrocious outside. After an EMP, some natural events, we just came out of a solar cycle where radio communications sucked for the last 3 or 4 years. There's digital communications, both on HF and on handhelds. These, a better handheld is capable of digital communications, and this, in my opinion, are the next best thing to fully encrypted communications. Huge misconception is that you go out and buy your $30 handheld ham radio and you think that this antenna is capable of talking all over town, all over the place, when in reality, this is called a rubber duck antenna. This is effectively good for about a mile. Now, the beautiful thing about these radios and all other ham radios is the fact that that antenna comes off, and it'll either have a connection that looks like this, or it'll have a connection that looks like this. What's that mean to you and I? With little adapters like this, we can attach a real antenna that has some gain, that can receive from much further away, and we can effectively turn that $30 radio into something that performs at a much, much higher level. And finally, I kind of wanted to discuss real quickly training and proficiency. If you're a serious prepper, you train with your weapons, you train on how to bug out, you train on all these different mechanics of the whole prepper lifestyle. So you need to train with your radios like you train with your firearms. You need to become proficient. You need to know exactly how everything works, how to get to the menus, how to change frequencies, how to put in a frequency that doesn't exist in your memories. You need to make sure that you can effectively operate that radio under extreme stress. Guys, I hope this was a little bit of help to you. If it was, please, again, thumbs up on the video. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already done it. And, hopefully consider helping me out. PayPal, Patreon, whatever you can. It all helps. Anyway, guys, I'm going to try to intersperse a few of these more prepper concentric videos within some of the other videos. So please put this on your recommended list. The best way to do it is, again, hit the subscribe. And I've got some really good ideas. I'd love to hear your comments, so please leave a comment. Let me know if this video was helpful. Also, let me know what you want to see as far as prepper communications, and we'll try to hit it somewhere along the line here. Guys, thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Bob, K6UDA, and I'm out of here. 7-3.